Hey guys, Coolbrick here with another video that is addressing some questions that I've been getting recently about my 9-volt layout and how all this electrical stuff actually works. So I'm just gonna kind of do a quick debrief on 9-volt in general. So 9-volt track was a track that has these metal rails that will conduct and support a flow of electricity through them. And they were produced by Lego up until the mid 2000s, before 2010. I think they were finally discontinued sometime around 2006-ish or something like that. And they discontinued them because evidently there were some safety hazards, and they switched over to all this power function stuff that's battery operated. But a lot of people that have big cities and big layouts, it's not always convenient to have everything battery operated because batteries can leak, batteries run out of power, and you have to replace them, and it can be a pain. And it's really nice to just have these really nice long tracks that the trains will just run on, and it's connected to a wall outlet back there. And so you don't have to worry about it running out of power. So anyway, the way this works is I'm just going to talk about if you had a normal loop. So you will have it's not an adapter. Forgot what the term is, but you'll basically have a wire that connects one end to a wall outlet. There's a European version and a US version because the wall outlets are different for the two continents, for North America and Europe. So yeah, you have this version which I'm using, which is the US version, and that will plug into your outlet, and the other end will have a tip like this, and then you have a speed regulator which has a little hole to plug it in, and you have these wires that then attach from the speed regulator to the tracks like so. And so now that you guys pretty much understand that, I'll just quickly talk about the motors and then how to get two loops to work and possible issues you might run into. Okay, so this is a 9-volt motor. I have it attached to my passenger train. Some things you can do with the motor are, you need to be kind of careful with this, but you can see I actually have a wire attached to the 9-volt motor, and what that is one of those kind of newer power functions extensions that has two ends to it. I think I have an extra one here. Just gotta find it. Here we go. And I have one here. It has two ends to it. And I'm blocking the microphone. Okay, here we go. Now I can actually talk. So again, two ends. One of them is a power functions end. The other one will actually attach to a older 9-volt style sort of a attachment. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. These power functions ones, if I can find, here we go. Power functions tops look like this. 9-volt tops look like this. So this one is a great alternative to connect your 9-volt stuff to power function stuff, which is, as I was saying, it's useful because I have a power functions conversion cable attached to this motor. So not only does the motor get electricity from the track, but when the train runs, the motor also sends power to power functions lights on this end and this end. And none of it has anything to do with batteries, so I never have to worry about any of that running out, which is awesome. And let me think. Other things about motors. They are really expensive. If you want to buy a brand new one, probably you have to pay somewhere between $40 to $60 on Bricklink or eBay. I'd recommend Bricklink. I bought two of them from Bricklink. I think they were both used but in great condition, and then of course I have the one old one. And they are pretty decent. You really just want to take good care of them so that they don't, nothing happens to them. And yeah, pretty good motors. So now I will explain about the actual nitty-gritty electricity and wiring things. So as you guys know, I have two loops in my city. I have an inner loop and an outer loop. And you can also see I have a second regulator down there, as well as my one over here. And when you have a really large loop, or two really large loops like myself, I mean, this is like more than 20 feet across and more than 10 feet wide for the outer loop, and then the inner loop is almost the same dimensions. So these are just really large loops of 9-volt track, and you really need to acknowledge that it's hard for the electricity to go through such a large circuit, and when your only point of contact or source, the only source is from one zone. So I do have this regulator, and this regulator solely powers my inner loop, and it also, as you can see, I actually have two cables attached here. They're stacked up and they will send electricity through each other. They're stacked up, and one of them goes to this inner loop. Like I said, it solely powers the inner loop, and then I have one on the outer loop, and the one on the outer loop is the one connected to the top. So the outer loop one is actually getting a little bit less electricity, and I realized that when I first tried this, the first configuration I did, the inner loop was the cable on the top, and it really just did not go. It really didn't get much power, so I put that one on the bottom, and that seemed to solve things, and I was still getting enough power to the outer loop. So you kind of do have to mess around with things, and I don't know that much about circuitry, because I had to do a lot of trial and error to solve most of my problems, which definitely shows you that I'm not very knowledgeable about the topic, but that's what worked for me. And the other problem I had was that I actually have a dead zone going from about here up until where my red freight train is at the moment. And that's why I actually have the second regulator, which is only connected to the outer loop, and that regulator basically just powers the track from here to down there. And I'm pretty sure most of the problem is because of these switches here where the two loops connect. But I tried a whole lot of different configurations with and without the switch tracks, and nothing really seemed to work. I still just always had the dead zone here. So I just ended up buying a second regulator. And as far as regulator costs, regulators are like a good one in good conditions, probably between like $15 and $25. And these wires that connect to the track, about the same price. These bigger wires though, the ones that connect to the wall outlets, probably somewhere more between like 15 and 30 at least. And also depending on which wire, I think the US ones are more expensive. But actually, this particular one is actually not even from this, it's not even made by Lego. Because I had one made by Lego, but I didn't want to spend money on another one. So I actually had another, I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of this type of, I think it's called an adapter cable, but either way, you just need to find, I'll show you actually, I'll just bring you guys down here. This one is, I think, made by Lego. You just need to find ones that have all the same wattage information or hertz or whatever it is you're using, whatever units you're using to measure electricity. You can see made in China for the Lego group. Now the other one on the other side of the wall doesn't even have the outlet is different. You can see the boxy part is actually in the middle, and it's not made by Lego, but it has the same information. So input 120 VAC, output 12 VAC, 60 hertz, and 0.12 amps, or I don't even know what these units stand for, but basically the point is you actually can work around the adapter situation if you find an adapter that just has the same information, and they should actually all have the same tip. So you might actually be able to find one at some kind of a home supply store or something like that, or at something like Circuit City. I don't really know, but basically you do have other options. And yeah, I think that gives you guys a more than basic debrief. Gave you guys some pretty good tips, which I spent months working on myself. So I learned all of this from experience, and I found that probably the most important thing is that try not to cut corners. Like I did some stuff with copper track, and it works for some people, but I think in my situation, it was just in the long run, it was a better investment for me to just get enough track to lay out all this stuff, because you can see I pulled out my copper track, finally had enough normal 9-volt track to take care of everything. So again, you can always look up other tutorials on how to do stuff, but this gives you guys a pretty detailed gist about how 9-volt actually works and what you need to have it working in any layout. So hopefully you guys found this helpful for those of you that have been wanting to use 9-volt yourselves or expand on your 9-volt layout. And as always, thanks a whole lot for watching, and don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe.